I like to subscribe, do all that. You already know what time it is. It's Netflix time. This movie's called Welcome Home.
A couple rents a villa in Italy hoping to mend their bruised relationship, but the devilish, charming homeowner can't seem to leave them alone. So this movie came out 2018. It's a thriller. It's about an hour and a half long. Spoiler alert, let's get it. Anyway, Brian, my nigga for Breaking Bad. Anyway, him and his girl Cassie are going to this villa for like a 6-day vacation. They end up stopping at this one spot, but clearly this ain't it. Then they get to their real destination, the real villa. The one they stopped at before this one just happens to be the next door neighbors. So they get settled in and some guy named Eduardo welcomed them to the house because it used to be his house. And they ready to get down to business. So they had some wine, eat dinner, enjoy themselves. Cassie goes to jump in the pool, but when Brian goes upstairs to get changed, he sees Cassie's phone. And apparently some dude keeps calling her, so he's getting pissed off. So they get in the pool and he's about to give her the business in there. Then he comes up with some excuse like he can't do it while these gnomes are looking at him. But why would I get her so upset to the point where she's just like, fuck it? She ends up going upstairs and going to bed. Well, you ain't getting none tonight. You ruined the moment. So he goes downstairs and starts playing old Italian records that are down there. And he starts reading his book. It's about aphrodisiacs and shit. He has this dream about some chick starts jerking off and falls asleep. On that couch, he's not upstairs with his girl. And while that's going on, we found out the house is wired with cameras. But who's watching them? Were those cameras already there or did somebody just put them there? Well, anyway, Cassie wakes up the next morning by herself. She went downstairs to fix breakfast and goes for a morning jog. Brian wakes up to the smell of breakfast with a card that says, "Morning, asshole, eat up." Meanwhile, while Cassie's still going for a jog, we get these flashbacks of Brian yelling at Cassie like, how the fuck could you do this? Do what, pray tell? While she's running, she trips over a tree branch and fucks her knee up. She tries to flag down somebody, who eventually stops, but she can't walk over to him because she messed her ankle up in the process too. And the person that helps her out is this guy named Federico. Wait a minute, he looks real familiar. Yeah, he was the guy that in my last review, The Last Paradiso, that I did about 4 months ago. A lot of incest and that shit. Well, anyway, he helps her out and gets her a ride back to the villa. She's like, thanks for saving me. Can I get you a cup of coffee or something like that? He's like, nah, I'm good. I know he just helped her, but I don't know. Look at that look. That gives stalker vibes. So she gets back in the house, and apparently he changed his mind. He was like, okay, yeah, I'll take that coffee. So they start talking out back. And here comes Brian. He's like, yeah, what the fuck is this? So he was cordial to him and all that, but after he left, Brian was like, all right, I don't want you talking to that dude. Fuck that. He's like, come on, he did save me when I was in my time of need. But she's like, bottom line, she about to go take a shower. Join her. Now, this might not mean anything, but apparently he took a bunch of Viagra the first time and they still didn't get it popping. I'm like, he looks pretty young to be taking Viagra. So the situation's gotta be something deeper than that, right? So while she's in the shower, he's flicking around with this wedding ring I guess he's apparently was going to give to her. Comes up behind her in the shower and he wants to give her the business again this time. But he keeps seeing this image replayed in the back of his mind. And once again, he still can't give it to her. Left Cassie frustrated again. Then we see the camcorders again, but who's been looking through them? Turns out it's been Federico that's been stalking her the whole time. I knew it! You creepy bastard, you! So then they all get together. They're going to go to a festival, see the sights downtown. And he drives them there because honestly, it's hard for them to get cabs where they're at. Then he drops them off so they can enjoy the sights. Then he gets mad. He's like, why do you keep making friends with assholes? So we're like, what's his deal? So it turns out the guy that was calling her while she was taking the pool, dipping the pool, was this dude named Justin. Justin is a guy that she cheated on Brian with, and he caught her red-handed. Justin used to be a co-worker of hers. She don't work at that same job no more, and she said she hasn't talked to that guy for months. The thing was, she was drunk one night, and she ended up giving her the business after her and Brian had an argument. And she's been paying for his mistake ever since. So even though he tried to look past it, it now makes a lot of sense why he can't touch her. Because every time he does, he keeps thinking about Justin. And being around a guy like Federico does not making the things better. So after they storm off, she goes to an ATM and is not giving her any money. She's trying to catch a cab. And here comes Federico popping up out of nowhere again and helps her get her cash. And she dips off and goes back to the house. Brian's at the bar getting drinks. And who happens to show up? Federico. So he basically talks to him about why him and Cassie are having problems. Federico, quote unquote, tries to help him out with his problems. Cassie's back at home and she finds a mean ass wine cellar.
Shit lit as fuck.
Then Federico brings over these two girls for the company. Meanwhile, Cassie all alone drinking by herself. Meanwhile, the girls all rubbing on Brian's face. Brian's so furry he can't even answer the phone. When Cassie's texting and calling him. Then they play this game called Two Truths, One Lie, which somebody gives 3 statements, and you gotta figure out which 2 statements are true and which statement is a lie. The first statement was about faithfulness, the second statement was about Cassie, and the third statement he said something about having a key to their place. Brian didn't pick up on it right away because 1, he's drunk, but I don't trust that face right there. Cassie got drunk and fell asleep. I don't know how much time passed or what happened, but apparently he might not have been lying about the key, because all of a sudden Federico's in the house. Now she had to be dumb drunk. This nigga Federico's touching her face. She starts sucking on his fingers thinking it's Brian. This nigga licked the finger that she sucked on. It's like, come on, son. You can't tell me that's not no foot fetish creepy type shit. Anyway, this nigga Brian wakes up the next day. He's still downtown. He leaves out the spot and realizes his phone is missing. Then he's having these blurred flashbacks about the girls taking him to a hotel. But we don't know what happened. He finally gets back to the house. Cassie's like, where the fuck you been at? You ain't been here all night? She's like, I called like 1,000 times. He's like, man, I lost my phone somehow. He takes a shower and he's trying to recall the events from last night, but he can't remember a thing. Meanwhile, Cassie's scrolling through pictures on her phone. Then they have an argument about Federico again. He's like, man, I don't want you seeing this dude. Then she asked him, was he here? And she's like, why the fuck would I let Frederico in the house without you here? So Brian's like, fuck this, I'm going for a walk. So after that, she goes and takes a shower. Who behind the scenes, Frederico's been watching her, and he knows she's in the house by herself right now. So on this walk, Brian goes by the next door neighbor house, because Frederico told him that's where he lived. While he's doing that, Frederico pops up, but he said the door was wide open, so he's about to make us some cacciatore, basically rabbit stew. Brian knocked on the door, nobody answered, so he just busted in. Come to find out the spot is abandoned. Nobody lives here. Frederico been lying to you. So while Brian's rushing back, they're cooking. When he gets back, he sees them enjoying a nice meal. But right when he was about to confront Federico, he talks about the night Brian had. I'm like, oh boy. Chilling with Federico's female friends and all that, so she's like, okay, what the fuck is that about? But he plays it a smooth, talking about it was just harmless talk. But he did mention something about a hotel though, so she's like, what the fuck? Obviously, she can't get too bad because we know what she did. Then they have a one-on-one chat. He's talking about stay away from her, so I'm gonna call the police. He's like, oh really? Should I tell her what really happened that night? And considering he doesn't remember everything, he's at a crossroads. And on top of that, he still can't find his phone. So he plays along with him and they all sit down and enjoy dinner. This charm is turned up to maximum, even though we know who he is. But it's only gonna be so much that Brian can take. Don't make him turn Breaking Bad on your ass. Hit that quick. So he really wants her to stay away from Frederico because of everything that's happened, the events and stuff like that. But at the same time, she feeling some type of way like, okay, so what really did happen last night? And of course, Frederico is still watching them on the footage. He locks all the doors, make sure nobody gets in. They got a little heart-to-heart. They making up and he don't like that. So he's gonna go to the cellar and get some wine and tells her to meet her upstairs. He's like, yeah, you better get ready for me. But as he's going through the wine cellar, the door shuts on him out of nowhere and locks him in the cellar. Cassie gets upstairs and it's already lingerie and a blindfold down. It's like, put this on and wait for me. She thinks Brian set this up, but it's actually Federico. When did he have time to put that upstairs and how was he able to maneuver around to do that? But Brian's still trying to find a way to get out the cellar. Cassie getting all sexied up. Brian somehow looks through behind the bottles and he ends up finding a tunnel. While that's going on, Cassie's waiting with the blindfold. And then here comes Federico. And he's trying to do all types of stuff to her. But right before he can make sure he can do what he do, Brian busts through a crate and he gets loose. Federico hears him like, God damn it. Then Brian finds a TV with Cassie on it. It's like, oh shit. Cassie starts getting dressed like, okay, where the fuck is Brian at? So she had checked the bed and Federico ended up dropping Brian's phone on the bed. So he basically had it with him the whole time. She goes through it and it's videos of Brian and the other girls was kissing him and shit. Meanwhile, Brian is watching Cass on TV and sees her fucking with Federico. Both of them seeing scandalous stuff while Frederico's back at his little security camera hut. Then they find each other getting a big fight. Both of them are confused about each other's actions. But then when Brian tossed his phone to the mirror, it ended up breaking and he finds a camera. Now you know somebody's definitely been spying on him. And Frederico has another phone. I'm not sure whose phone that is. Bottom line, the jig is up. Then right out the blue, Frederico pops up. And then we got the scuffle, the beef. Frederico had a knife. He was about to stab Brian. Then Cassie hit him in the back of the head with a fucking walking stick. After that, she hit him numerous times. She beat the fuck out of him. And yeah, she killed him. Done deal dead. But apparently somebody else is pulling up to the house. They're like, what the fuck? So they cleaned him up and then hid. But then they really hid because they didn't know Eduardo was coming back to the house. See, Brian had made a phone call earlier about a disturbance, but he never thought Eduardo would actually even show up. He reassures him everything's all good, but he still wants to inspect the house. He's like, hey, it's your house. So they're trying to get their story straight. Cassie's talking about maybe they won't get me off of murder as self-defense. Brian's like, they're not gonna buy that shit. Like, we're in a whole different country. And for what they saw downtown, people like Frederico. She's like, nah, fuck that. We gotta bury this shit. Then we find out this nigga went straight to the room with the fucking tapes in it. The security cameras. He rewinded it and saw everything play out. So he comes back to talk to Cassie. He's like, come on, man. Just tell me what you did. What's good? While he was doing that, Brian was about to creep up from behind and hit him with the walking stick. He's like, fall back, nigga. Don't do it. While he was pointing the gun at Brian, Cass stabbed him with the knife that was dropped on the ground earlier. Paul was like, nah, give me the gun. You got one. I'm gonna get the other. Says, you ain't gonna have both deaths on your hands. Nigga, you gotta go. And he finished up Eduardo done deal dead as shit. So they cleaned up everything and finally he found the fucking camera room. And there's a bunch of tapes from other couples that stayed at this villa. So he said a fire burnt all that shit, and they buried niggas. They got cleaned up, took a shower, and he finally gave her the business. He says, baby, we keep this between us. Nobody ever has to know. I mean, that's obvious nobody has to know. Nigga, you burnt the fucking tapes and everything like that. But I shouldn't have known when they said that was a dead giveaway. Because what else had cameras in them? The fucking gnomes. And these cameras happen to be on a worldwide website called ICU. Motherfuckers from Germany watching them, France. And it's a site where certain websites, certain houses have hidden cameras in them all around the world, and this just happened to be one of them. Wow, that shit is fucking crazy. Welcome home on Netflix. Check it out. Like, click, subscribe, do all that. You're on the top of this. Click easy, all the easy, mister. Big, because you got that slogan.